hope is a loaded word in that it implies a attachment of self outside of the self, and it's future focused and moves me away from myself. And in our Haven lingo, the word we contrast with hope is that of faith. So this is not the belief that my mother had that she called her faith. It is, as Ben Wong defined it, faith being the felt assurance of the continuation of being. And I always like to be really clear that it's not the continuation of my being, but that somehow existence is. I'm not even going to say that it continues. Existence is, and if I am present, I'm in that existence, and it's outside of time, it's outside of the Newtonian physics, and we're really dealing in the quantum uncertainty. It's the amount of attachment to the hope. And when I'm standing more in my faith, I can look at that desire for attachment and have room for myself wanting to be attached desperately, and go, and it may not be so. This outcome may not happen. I may be attached to it desperately, and reality is large enough that it may not happen at all. So acceptance is also one of those loaded words, because so many folks, think of the serenity prayer, let me accept that which I cannot change and change what I cannot accept, and to know the difference. And acceptance in this, I think, is not putting up with or coming to some comfort with what is, but it is the radical looking and going, regardless of my desire or the rest, this seems to be what is in this moment. And when you say there's a certain comfort in it, but it's not comfortable. It's actually quite painful to be in acceptance that this is what is. Acceptance is a place of immediate engagement. Acceptance is being present to what actually is here, which can also be the acceptance that I don't like what is here. That can be part of my acceptance. And I don't have the entitlement to have what I want to have happen. So I'm thinking of the Frank Herbert quote from Dune around fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. That is, in facing the dark wolf, facing my dark side, facing the darkness around me, and feeling all that's there, that in that pain is also the end of suffering. The suffering I have is through the attachment that I won't be afraid. The suffering I have is the attachment that this is not the way it should be. And if I can face this fully, the suffering comes to end. Now, the fear doesn't. But fear's fear. It's the suffering that ends. The challenge in my life is, do I choose to be present to what is actually here, rather than setting up the circumstances to have that? And in the dark times, I think you're asked to actually open more. But if I'm going to open more, you know, Brene Brown has been so brilliant in talking about this. If I'm going to be vulnerable, you know, I can't select what I'm going to be vulnerable to. Openness takes courage. And if I'm going to be vulnerable, I have to be willing to have as much pain as joy.